Well, I've been looking forward to this podcast probably more than any of them. Welcome to Cue the Mic.
I'd like to welcome everybody to Cue the Mic. This is your old buddy Randy Twyford, broadcasting live from the pickup because my friggin' internet quit at the house. So we're kind of just, would this be kind of a road job or something like that?
Why?
Great way to start, Randy. Great way to start. You got Emma from the comforts of her home. But one thing I've noticed about Emma, if you're watching, Emma's showing off the tattoos today. You can tell she's kind of got the. She's got the.
I got this one finished.
Jesus.
This one got finished yesterday.
Yeah,
Isn't it cool?
So she's showing off the tattoos. But I tell you what, Randy,
tough.
you're looking good. All these. It's funny when I saw you, and I knew you were having internet problems, but when I saw you out in that truck, I'm like, God, he's a full-fledged influencer now. Because all them influencers, they're always doing shit out in their vehicle. I'm like, what the hell are they out in their vehicle for? But Randy brings up a point that, first, Emma says the lighting's really good, and second of all, it's quiet. Yeah, it's quiet till his neighbor goes by and starts honking.
Well, or somebody comes by hauling a bale of hay down to their cows, which it's Sunday, so they're going to probably be coming by sometime soon. So, and they'll stop and go, "Hey, what the fuck's going on? You got any trouble?" No, go ahead, keep on moving.
Just
Nothing to see here. Just me talking on the truck.
Well, I've been looking forward to this podcast probably more than any of them because Randy became the restaurateur last night for a night. He did his pop-up, and he was actually filming it out on TikTok Live. He had the kitchen going. And of course, I left. He sends me a message. I'm on my way to dinner, right? So we're going out with Sherry's sister and brother-in-law. So we're going out for pizza. And so I've got it there. And Sherry's like, "You going to watch that all the way through dinner?" And I'm like, "Well, I was kind of planning on it, but I'd forgot my hearing aids at home because we had the grandson's birthday party at home yesterday, and there was so much damn screaming. I had to take the hearing aids out so I couldn't hear. Well, then I forgot to put them back in, so I couldn't just have it going in one ear to look. Right. But when I got home, you were still streaming, so I was watching until who was your cutting boy that was on the cutting station.
That was Collie. He's an Alabama boy.
Right. So Colin finally looks at it and goes, "Well, there's only one person watching. I'm shutting this sumbitch off." and then some chick comes over. He pulls down the phone, and some blonde-haired chick comes over, and she kind of looks at the thing, and then it cut off. I should have got a picture of it. It was funnier. It was funnier than hell.
We're pretty high tech, So yeah, they were. We didn't have many followers, so they took and put it out to the whole Snapchat group of the Illinois college football team, and so it just went through the ceiling then. So all of our viewership was really going through the ceiling then.
Yeah, I saw you had like 500, and I mean there wasn't a lot, but there was 529 views or whatever.
Yeah. So there was a lot of people jumping in and out, and then I didn't see it because, of course, I was busy doing this and that, so I didn't really see who was coming and going. But Summer, that takes care of our Instagram, our internet stuff now for us, social media, our intern, she was saying, there's a lot of different people coming in and out, plus the football team. So
yeah, that's good. I shared it out there trying to get some people to watch it, and so it was a fun experience. If you got to see it live, it was kind of fun. It gave me a few heebie-jeebies here and there from a restaurant standpoint and process standpoint, but I worked through it, right? But tell us overall, Randy, tell us about the whole pop-up. I mean, stressful?
It's kind of like everything else, like getting the car going, middle of the winter, and you go out there and you wonder whether the car is going to start. And how well it's then when she chokes and pukes a little bit and gets going a little bit, and then the engine gets warmed up, and then it gets kind of going pretty good, and then you're going really good, and then the fucking transmission falls out of it or something. And so that's kind of how we were. I mean, we started out stumble dicking along and
Stumble dicking.
kind of stumble dicking along, and we kind of got our rhythm down, and so things were overall I'm still to the point where I'm just kind of amazed at how many people came out and supported us over the week last night. I mean, we had people from Jacksonville, we had people from Springfield, we had people from Decatur come over, we had people from up in Petersburg, which is north of us a ways and stuff. So we had a vast array of people. We think ballpark we had over 150 people there. So I mean, yeah. I mean, one thing we'll do different the next time. We've kind of went through and kind of evaluating what worked, what didn't work, what we would do different. One thing we will do, we'll definitely do it again, and it'll be soon, I'm sure, since before we kind of get into the busy season, stuff warming up and we're out with the truck a lot and stuff. We took and we won't do pre-orders for people to pre-order the stuff. That just kind of turned into a clusterfuck. I mean, it just didn't work out right. I mean, and might have been because the way we had it. But one thing we did do on the order form, we didn't have people order their sides. They ordered their entree, but they didn't order their sides. So they still had to go. They still had to go through the process. You think about the entree. Okay, you're going to get brisket, are you going to get ribs, you're going to get that, but you don't think of the smaller things. Are you going to get potato casserole? Are you going to get baked beans or coleslaw and stuff like that?
Right.
So that was a key thing. But it's kind of I was thinking this morning. There's been some other stuff I've done that we've pre-ordered stuff, and especially with the food truck. On the food truck, pre-orders don't work worth a shit. I haven't found it really working good because we just don't have enough room on the truck to hold pre-orders. So you got a pre-order there, you're taking up all your room, or somebody will come up, well, I pre-ordered. They think they should jump ahead of 5 people that are already in line. And that's kind of some of the stuff that we kind of ran into a little bit last night. Now the advantage we had was we had music playing and a bar, and there was beer. People could get drinks and stuff, so that was able to pace their times a little better. So,
do you think, Randy, if you were, because I was watching your process, and I agree, pre-orders, because you wanted to make sure that at least somebody was going to show up, right? Because you don't know, you're doing this pop-up just out of nowhere, so you do that, and now people will show up, right? So I'm wondering, as I was watching your live in the kitchen, right, and just things of going through, you were really fast to get the food out. From what I could see, as far as cutting and stuff, I think you're, and I think it was because of the way the kitchen was set up, but you could have been condensed down because those boys were getting a lot of steps. I was watching him slice the brisket on the board, then he was having to walk over here and put it on a scale, or he was handing a piece and grabbing a piece back and forth versus just having the scale next to him, throw it off, and then say, "Okay, clear," and handed it to the builder. And those. What's your girls that were working?
Oh, Megan, and Danny, the Lawless girls.
Yeah. Oh, the Lawless girls. They were the ones building, right?
You're right. Exactly.
Oh man, they were having so much fun. One of them was dancing the whole night.
That's Megan. That's why she keeps her sanity.
Oh God, it was so much fun watching her. She was just dancing. She was just enjoying the time. But yeah, if you could, it's almost like you want to set that up out there and do it and just say, hey, enjoy your meal, whatever. And when you come, if you want to sit down and go have a beer and then come through the line, we'll just knock you out and deliver your food to you or whatever. But you were trying to create a fine dining experience. I wonder how it would work if people just came up like they were coming to a wedding buffet. But you don't have to come now. Come whenever you want.
Well, I don't think what we'll do the next time is we won't take pre-orders, so we won't have to deal with that. And then at the end of the bar, we'll have somebody with a POS system. And so people will come to and they'll place their order, and then they'll get one of those things with a number on it, the little deal that you put on your table.
Yeah, the
and like
pager.
number 1, 2, 3, then they'll take that number to their table. And so at that point, then the system will kick the order back to the kitchen, and then we'll do like order number 2, and then the runner will take it out to table number 2. That was one of the things we were having a problem with. Is granted, between the three of us, Mike that owns a place and Larry that works for him, we knew most of the people there. But still, we were doing a lot of, hey, is Darren here? Where's Darren? Table for Darren, or food for Darren Worth, and stuff like that. And that was losing us some time, and I think made it kind of took away from us a little bit. But the other thing
are good notes, though.
Yeah, and so I think we'll have somebody that's all they're going to do is take orders on a POS system and then fire them back to the kitchen. Because one of the things that we ran into is we didn't, and it wasn't our POS system, it was Mike's there, and he had put it in, but I don't know how much he had used it. But in Toast, I don't know whether it's a default or whatever, but when you place an order with liquor and food, that unless you tell it to send the order to the kitchen,
right,
it won't send the order to the kitchen, and they didn't know that. So they were taking, and if you hold it with a credit card, if you run a tab, so those orders were.
That's just a setting. That's just a setting.
But my point is that setting wasn't set, so that we ended up taking most of our orders on pieces of paper and getting buried more and more and more because they were on Post-it notes and order tags and stuff like that. So I guess my point of it is what we should have done is went in there and done about 3 or 4 run-throughs using a credit card, so we knew that it would work properly. So long and the short of it is get your shit together. You might have your shit together on everything else, but if you don't have it together with that, if you're going to use a POS system, you're fucked.
I see, Randy. I see, because do you run Toast on the food truck?
Yeah, I run Toast on the food.
Right.
Yes.
So really what you could have, because I see this business opportunity, because we have like Toast Goes. We don't use them. But you could have had Toast Goes hooked up to your Toast. You could have used your own POS system for food, right? And so with a Toast Go, you could have had two gals or whatever, guys, whatever, at the table taking the orders. As soon as they hit
with
send,
a handheld. Are you saying Toast Goes with a handheld?
With a handheld, and then it would have printed on a printer in the kitchen exactly
what was there.
And so even if I have to send you my Toast Goes, I'm hoping you schedule it right so I can come down, because I'd like to be the cutter.
Okay. I'd love to have you to be the cutter.
For a live stream.
And go or better yet, I just want
more
to run
camera time.
Kitchen. Randy, you go out and smooze them. But no, they were doing a good job. It seems like everybody was kind of synchronizing, and we couldn't see from a live. I couldn't see all the stuff, because that had to be hell if you're starting to take all these orders.
Well, and that was a problem and then people's orders would get buried, and so that's what I was wondering, and I didn't realize the Toast Ghost thing would work. And I've got a handheld for my Toast system, so we could just link that up into his system, and then fire it. I'd take your Toast, and I'd take your entire food truck setup and just go plug it into his internet, and now you're live just like you're on the food truck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just take your system. Take your Meraki router. I know that's a little,
because then it's already,
for people that are listening going, what the fuck's a Meraki router? But Toast, you can actually take that Toast, as long as you have good internet, you can hook your system so you can have it reprogrammed exactly the way you want it. You can run your testing at home, unplug the whole thing, go plug it into his router, hook up to his wireless, or plug into just like his Toast. And now you're dealing with your Toast with tied in, so you can test all that ahead of time and have your printer.
That's what we're gonna. That's what we're gonna
just
have
like
to do.
It prints. Yeah. I think that would. But I wouldn't have thought about that. I wouldn't have thought to even ask in the front, saying, "Hey, because you said, hey, we're using his POS." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So,
and I sent him the information, and he imported it in and stuff, and but we didn't work on that. So that and then the surprising thing, we kind of did at the last minute. The other thing was we started having some people contact me about if we were going to do carry out orders, and there was like, well, yes, no, and then I decided, yeah, we're going to do carryouts, and we probably did 20. We probably did 20 carryout orders last night.
Yep.
I think I must have seen all that, because I saw a lot of to-go containers as they were when I was watching the live, and I was probably only on there for an hour out of the 3 hours you were there. While you I was all excited. Sherry went to bed, and I'm like, finally, I get to watch this thing live in peace and quiet and action and whatever. And then old Colin said, well, there's only one guy falling, and I'm going to save some battery for later at the bar.
Yeah, because he donated his phone to use for live stream. So, but yeah, I mean, it's some of the small stuff. And again, we knew that we would have some hiccups at it, but it seemed like once the ball got rolling in the beginning, we were, like I said, we were kind of stumbled a little bit, but then the boys on the end were doing the slicing and the cutting of the ribs and they were bringing them down. Now, if you had the perfect kitchen, they had those refrigerated prep stations. I would move those refrigerated prep stations out and just put a table there. We could have used some tables we would have had, but that's not, if that's the case, then you own a kitchen, so. You make do with what you got. So, but we know that now, so we could probably move some stuff around a little bit. I'll have to give the guy, Mike, that owns the Twisted Tree, I mean, he was like, it's yours. And I mean, we came in there and pretty well moved all of his stuff out of the way. We were loaded up the pickup and had the back of it full. And I heard Collie tell Megan when he was shutting the tailgate, he goes, in that Southern Alabama voice, he goes, by God, Meg, looks like we're going to the fucking garage sale here.
Well, it looked like Twyford was going to a barbecue contest 15 years ago, your first barbecue contest.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, the 20. Back of it, and then the back of the pickup was full, and that's the only thing about it's good and bad about doing the pop-up. We brought everything we needed. I mean, we brought paper towels, we brought cleaners. I didn't want to borrow anything from them. So I put together a checklist of, everything that we possibly could have, and added a couple more things to it as the night went on that we had forgot, like tossing bowls for burn ends, But overall, we had everything on there, and that was nice because we could have the list, and Megan pretty well knows, and Collie knows too, where most stuff is, and just say, get it loaded. Just get it in there, and I mean, our styrofoam containers and everything, and it was nice having that, so we could just take that in there, and there's a few things we had to move of his, and we just, I guess that's the point of a pop-up kitchen, we just pretty well took over his kitchen. And he had shelving, and we could store stuff on it and stuff. So, but it's also the fact of having to haul it all in there and having to haul it all home. But also, I don't have a payment to be made on a restaurant.
That was my next question. You got through the experience, right?
Yeah.
Owning a restaurant's probably a lot easier. But could you imagine what I just wanted to ask Randy this morning? I almost sent him a message 4:30 this morning saying, "You got anything to clean up today?"
Oh yeah,
because I mean, what time did you get out of there?
We got out of there. It was about 10:15.
Oh wow! And you finished at 9? That's surprising.
It slowed down. It slowed down about 8:30 or so, and then I started around, everybody's standing around, what are we going to do now? I said, get this shit cleaned up and get it out of here. So we left kind of a shell of stuff to do. We had to leave food for the band and Mike and stuff. And, but yeah, it was probably about 10 o'clock. I was mopping the floors because I wanted to make sure they were clean. And we went through and just gutted. They were like, where do you want all this stuff put? And I said, it just needs to go in the van and the pickup so it can get home. Everything that we had.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
then went through and wiped everything down and put his stuff back and that. So, I mean, when we walked out the door, you wouldn't have known we'd been there. And that's the way I wanted it.
That poor floor. I was watching him cut. And so he was cutting, and the brisket looked amazing, right? When he was cutting, it just looked amazing. But then he was grabbing 3 or 4 slices and walking about 10 feet across the floor. I'm like, dude, we need to get you some paper boats to transport this, because I could just see it dripping. I could see it dripping all the way over to Megan. And then you were on a disposable cutting board. I could tell.
Yeah.
Because he was wearing that sumbitch out. I'm like, okay, Randy needs a wood cutting board and a scraper, because he kept trying to scrape it with his knife. So he's scraping that. It was funny. I wish you had a recording of it. But
I didn't catch all that.
Right, but he was scraping the board, and I'm like, boy, that boy needs a wooden cutting board and a scraper just to scrape the stuff off, because you leave residue. Well, I'm like, don't scrape that sumbitch too hard. There's so many paper cuts in there. You're gonna be serving paper.
You're gonna be going all the way through it. So, off to serving, we use the half pans and quarter pans, sheet pans to do our meals on, do our orders on, and those work really good with a butcher paper on them, pre-cut butcher paper. And
so did you buy that butcher paper pre-cut, or did you pre-cut it? Did you pre-cut it?
No, we bought it. It comes pre-cut for quarters, and then we just took 2 pieces to make half pans, of course. So
just because I thought about switching the restaurant over to that totally instead of baskets.
Yeah.
I just haven't. I'm not sure how they'll hold up in the dishwasher, because at home all the half pans I have in the at home, because that's mainly what I use, is half pans and quarter pans at home to cook with. When I run them through the dishwasher, they get all dingy and whatever.
Well, I mean, you got to remember, you got it mostly covered up.
Yeah, right.
And but we found that the quarter pans work best for the plates, and the only thing we use the half pans for were for the combos. And our combo plates were probably our biggest seller, or one of our biggest seller, where you got the ribs and a little bit of everything. People really like those. But
they wanted to try everything.
Yeah, they wanted to try everything, exactly. Surprisingly, coleslaw was a big seller. We sold out of coleslaw.
As it should. Coleslaw is the best side ever.
It should. What about pork steaks? I was watching, and pork steaks, I'm like, pork steak, and on just that one little, I only watched it for 5 minutes at that time, but it seemed like you had 3 or 4 pork steaks.
Yeah, pork steaks went out really well, and they made a good presentation on the plate, because I cut them myself. I've got that bone saw, and I just took pork butts and bigger pork butts and cut them ourselves. So the margin on them, I've never sat down and figured it out, but it's got to be phenomenal buying pork butts at a reasonable price and then just cutting them ourselves, because we can get about 6 to 8 pork butts from 6 to 8 pork steaks from a good sized butt. Yeah. And those cooked real nice along with the ribs. I cooked them with the ribs, so they were cooking in there. And so again, cooked them like we did down at Murfreesboro. Cooked them up to about 185, 190, and sauced them, and they held good, real nice and good. And they came up to me and said they couldn't get over how tender they were. Most of the time they eat a pork steak, it's pretty stringy, and you kind of got to chew it quite a bit. And they were really tender.
So you just ran them straight. You just ran them straight through. What'd you do?
Yeah.
What'd you do on the pork steak?
I just took and seasoned them, put them in the pit. I was running that and the ribs at about 235, 240, something like that, and then just ran them full 4 hours, something like that, till they got up in the 180s, 190s, and then sauced them and panned them, and then before they would put them out on the plate, we'd put a thin coat of sauce on them again.
Yeah. So they sat there and steamed in that pan and made them nice and tender.
Correct.
Huh.
That was the biggest thing we had. One of the biggest problems we had was holding food. We're very lucky to have that hot shot truck that I bought years ago, so we could put a lot of stuff in there. hold stuff. But it's funny how we get really high tech and stuff, with all these holding cabinets that have the moisture and the vapor and and the fans and all this bullshit. But we took I think I went through 16 briskets in there, full packers, and we put them in a cooler. We took them in a cooler.
Hell yeah.
And at the end of the night, they were still. I mean, I took one out when we got back home. We had 2 left. I took one out, and it was I could handle it, but some of those other guys probably couldn't have handled it. Your hands get calloused. But I mean,
wow,
it was still hot.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. You had 16 briskets and you had 2 left.
Yeah, you only came home with 2.
That's pretty.
Only
that's
2
pretty
left.
good. That's pretty lucky planning, I would say. You're not going to get that lucky every day.
No, the one thing we weren't lucky on was ribs. It seemed like we've got a lot of ribs. We had a lot of ribs left over. We were just doing half racks, and
well, yeah,
we've got. I told Marla this morning. I said I might just put foil on those ribs since they're cooled off, and drive around the neighborhood giving them out to the neighbors or something like that. So because we've got some left over, and we only had. We did 45 pork steaks, and I think we only got 4 left.
Can you put one in the mail? Can you put one in the mail and send that son bitch to me? Because
I'll tell you what. Go ahead.
Well, I just because Randy is my pork steak god, and he's always cooked me pork steaks for years ever since we met, and it's just like there's nothing better than a Twyford barbecue pork steak.
I'll tell you what,
never replicated.
I'll never buy. We'll double it up.
Try that. Yeah.
After cutting them ourselves.
It's gonna have to be hot.
Yeah.
After cutting them ourselves, and no more trouble. We're lucky we got that bone saw. And I looked online, and a fella can buy one of those bone saws from Webstront. I got it right that time.
There you go.
For $500 or $600.
Really?
Yes.
That's not bad.
Yes, because I was looking at.
You're saying a bandsaw. You're
a
saying
bandsaw,
saw,
yeah.
But it's a bandsaw you have.
Yeah, exactly. It's not one that you'd want to use at Sam's or at the grocery store, but for no more than we're using it, it'll hold up good.
Yeah.
And I was looking for blades, and I saw some that were similar to it, and I think they're like in the 5s, 6, and I mean, we're going to be cooking we cut those. It handled those frozen solid, and that's the thing I found out. We tried cutting some pork steaks with some about 3/4 froze pork butts, and it didn't work. When you get to the end, they'd twist on you because they're thawed enough. You want them froze as hard as you can get, and where you just take the plastic off of them, and then get you a flat edge, and then just boom, boom, boom.
So, Randy, what you would say is, as you've said to me in the past, you want them hard as a.
Yeah, that's right.
Hard as a wedding prick.
Oh.
Hard as a wedding prick. Yeah, that's exactly right. Just so when they come off the saw, they just hit the ground hard as a rock. Hard as a wedding prick. That's exactly.
They hit the ground. Yeah, there's Twyford barbecue for you right there. I just let them fall on the ground, pick them up.
Yes, let the son of bitches pick up. So, but no, they and we were cutting them. I think we measured them out. We were cutting them about 3/4 to a heavy 3/4. And they were weighing up at about a pound each,
Well, think about that from a cost. You take, hell, you're probably buying them cheaper than that. But right now, pork butts are $1.48 a pound. Now you're going to lose a little off each end. You're not going to get a great pork steak on each end. And so, I mean, you think about that. Hell, you're probably $1.60 a pound all in. So you got $1.60 on the plate. Right, $1.60 on the plate for an item that you're easily going to sell, right? Because it's a one each. So pork steaks I've always thought about doing that in the restaurant. The hard part is we don't have a knife, and not that you need a knife, but people are going to think you need a knife. We don't have a steak knife. We've got a butter knife, and I guess if we do it right, are we keeping you up, Emma?
No.
You look like you're starting to doze off.
No, I'm I'm just looking at podcast stuff right here on the side. Checking quality
Well,
things.
I'll tell you what, Darren.
I don't think
you
she's
say
focused.
that.
I am focused.
We've lost her attention span.
Okay,
no,
go ahead. Randy.
You're good. This is interesting.
Normally it's you, Randy, that we lose, but now with you out in the truck,
true.
you ain't got anything. You ain't got anything else to look at.
And I've seen all this countryside for 35, 40 years. So
okay. So anyway, speaking of that, Randy, go ahead.
We had our tableware we used were the same tableware we use for our caterings. They're a heavy knife, fork, and spoon with a red and white gingham napkin and salt and pepper, and that's all they used. And I never had anybody complain about needing a heavier knife or a steak knife to cut those pork steak. That tells me how tender they were.
Yeah. Interesting.
So and some of the people that got them, I know very, very well. Like one of them is my cousin and a second cousin. And if he had needed a steak knife, he would have not hesitated a bit. And he says that son of a bitch just fell apart. He said that was the most tenderest pork steak. So, but yeah, the pork steak were a big hit. The burnt ends. I mean, we were getting to a point where we couldn't keep up burn ends with a brisket, because we were cutting them right off the brisket.
Yep.
We were kind of that whole deal was getting to be a problem and stuff. So, and then at one point we had to shut the food off. We had so many orders back there. I didn't know whether we were going to be able to fulfill them all, and I didn't want to have a bunch of people out there already paid and then go out and say, "Hey, I'm sorry, we can't get your order." So I shut the orders off, and then that gave us a chance to finally get caught up and see where we're at. And then gave me a chance to go through and see what food we had. And I'm like, yeah, we got it. But we needed that breather in there to get all of the orders caught up and stuff.
Yeah. But if people in that atmosphere, they know it's a pop-up. They know that there's going to be, if you're going to a pop-up, you know that things are probably going to be a little screwed up from the process standpoint because you don't do this every day. So I would say people are forgiving. You were, brilliant for having music there. So you had music and you had drinks.
Entertainment.
So people got music and drinks and entertainment and something to keep them going. Then it goes by versus somebody just sitting in a thing going, where the hell's my food? That just took me 30 minutes to get it.
Well, and it's funny you say that. There's a guy that used to own a bar here in town and very successful. I mean, one of the, if not the top bar in Jacksonville for years and years, and well known in town and been in some other businesses and stuff. And his order was taking a while, and I was out there and I was like, "Your order's going to be coming up soon." He goes, "Randy, I'm not worried about it." He says, "As long as I've got a bucket, got some drinks to drink," he says, "I don't give a shit. I'm happy." He goes, "I came in here and I saw the line of people getting drinks." And he said, "So I got in line and got me a bucket of beer. And there's another couple." He says, "We got a couple buckets of beer." And he says, "I don't give a fuck when my food comes out." Because he says, "I'm sitting here drinking my beer and enjoying the music and visiting with people and stuff." He goes, "I'm happy. Now, when I can't get my drinks, that's when I got a problem." He goes, "But as long as I can get my drinks," he says, "I'm fine." And he goes, "I understand this is your first time doing it and you're going to have some hiccups." And he goes, "I just admire you for trying it and doing it." And he goes, "It looks like you better be doing it again."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're serving 150 plates, that's big success in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's
and
big
we get
success.
it dialed in get her dialed in a little bit more the next time,
Well, yeah, you don't want to do them too often, but I tell you what, if you could hit these babies once a month in the non-food truck season and just kind of keep it rolling. I mean, you got lucky with weather, right? Because here we are in the end of January and you just never know what you're going to get.
Oh, yeah, we could have got snowed out or, it was foggier and shit out. So, I mean, that might have affected us a little bit, but the carryouts is still the thing that amazes me, how many carryout orders we had. And
well, it almost makes you think, Randy, if you boil it away, could you go in somewhere, whether it's a bar that has a little kitchen or a little place or a banquet room off to the side or whatever, could you go in and just do a carry out only? And they go to the back of the bar, they take order, whatever. You got somebody walking around the bar, do carry out only. And even if they're eating in, and even if they're sitting at the bar, fine, you get your carry out. I mean, we get that all the time. People,
Yeah.
They see the big long line, and so they go order carry out, and then you go over and they're eating out of their 9x9. They don't give a shit. They just want to eat food, right?
Yeah.
They want it quick. So it's almost like you could kind of find some different places that wouldn't be quite the production that you could do that at.
And I've got a place that we did a catering at this winter, and they talked to me about coming down there. So I need to follow up on that. And it's kind of out in the country and stuff. It's in a whole different market. And they were really interested in having us come in there and they've had somebody else come in there and do a rib night where they just did ribs. And she said they had a lot of carry out. So I think, we run the final numbers on it and stuff. It's been pretty advantageous to us. So,
I was going to point that out. Just from the exposure, right? I mean, you had said you had a kind of a food guy or a guy with a lot of followers actually saw it and came down.
Yeah, I had a guy from up in Aurora. He had seen us promoting it out on Instagram and we had some videos. We put some last minute videos out on TikTok and stuff. And he called me up or texted me, and him and his handler, more or less. And he's got a pretty big following. Well, that's what she is, And he's got
Emma was my handler.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I hate that.
Except I never paid attention to her. You hate that?
Yeah. But anyway, he's got a big.
That was weird.
He's got a big following on TikTok, and so he does food reviews up in the Chicago area and downstate also. So he was going to be down in the area, and he saw it, and he goes, "Hey, what would you be okay if I came by and tried your food out and did a review and stuff?" And I'm like, "Hell yes." So he came by last night, and so we had an official food review done last night. And I, nervous as a whore. Never mind.
Good.
Never mind. Good. I was a little nervous.
It is Sunday.
Yeah, it is Sunday. Yeah, exactly. So, I was a little nervous about it. So, of course, he got a plate of everything we had. And then he's like, "Okay, leave us alone." And so it's him and his girlfriend, and they had their kids with him because he had his kids this weekend. And I never talked to him till the very end, till they left. And so they were, but Summer, that was our intern, was kind of running herd on him, and she said they were taking all kinds of pictures, and he was trying all the food and this and that. So I asked him before they left. He was thanking me and everything, and I was thanking him, and I said, "How was everything?" And he goes, "I've ate a lot of barbecue doing reviews and stuff, kind of in the Chicago, tri-state, Indiana area and stuff, Michigan area." And he said, "I've tried a lot of barbecue in the tri-state area." And he goes, "I can honestly tell you, I've never tried barbecue as good as what I had tonight."
Yeah,
so
that's good.
That's good. And then he goes, "These burnt ends," he says, "I've never had burnt ends before." He goes, "How do you fix them? He says, "I know they come from the brisket, but he goes, "These things," he says, matter of fact, he got a container to go of burnt ends to take with him back home. And so keep an eye out on TikTok. Twyford Barbecue USA is our handle out on Instagram or on TikTok.
TikTok.
What are you laughing at? TikTok, yeah. And it's going to also be on, then we'll link the Instagram. He's going to post it on his Instagram and Facebook
I'll share
stuff.
Him on the podcast stuff.
Yeah, on the podcast. You don't need to go to that other places. You can get everything you need right here at Cue the Mic.
Just kind of one-stop shop. So
I
asked him, I said, when will you have that out? And she goes, well, we may have it out tomorrow afternoon. If not tomorrow afternoon, we'll have it out on Monday. So,
yeah.
So we'll be anxious to see what that comes up with.
So Randy, so overall, great success. Fed lots of people. Had some hiccups and whatever. Now think of because a lot of our viewers, and when I say this, a lot of our viewers are intrigued by this. Okay, because I've kind of personally been consulting quite a few people on the side. So they listen to the podcast,
right?
They call me up, or they send me a Facebook messenger saying, "Hey, I want some advice," right? And so I've been kind of coaching some of them along, right? And especially a couple, and they're wanting me to come consult to their business. I'm like, yeah, I don't need to come consult to your business. Tell me what you do, and I'll do like my own restaurant. I'll tell you everything you're doing wrong, right? Because that's what I do.
Yeah.
And so, but everybody wants to know, because a lot of people have these, small little food truck operations, and of course, they're not sustainable necessarily by themselves. Some are, but they're always looking for that way to, how do I make that extra big old bump, and so if they could do a pop-up once a month, what advice do you give to those as far as planning, as far as, everything that happened? What's the advice to somebody that already knows how to do barbecue, maybe even does it commercially a little bit? What's the advice through the process?
Well, starting, as you were saying that, I was kind of thinking about it, and start in the very beginning. Find your location, and find a location that you can work with a person, and that is going to give you actual use of their kitchen, and you don't get somebody that's you're going to have to ask to do everything, or there's going to be a battle royal every time you do something. Get somebody that you're both on the same page and you're in agreement, and and get, here's what this costs, here's what we're going to split this cost, we're going to split that cost. Like the band, Mike and I split the band 50-50, and that's some of the stuff we worked out. The tablecloths, we split the tablecloths 50-50. That's some of the stuff that we worked out in the very beginning. So everybody knows where everybody's at everybody's on the same page. And when we were there in his kitchen, we've been there a couple of times doing some caterings lately. And, I'm like, okay, you're good with us doing this and doing that. And he's like, Randy, when you walk in here, it's your kitchen. When you walk out of here, it's my kitchen. That's all I ask. Just leave it the way you found it. And the place is always impeccably clean. So.
Oh yeah, I was looking at that kitchen. Especially those two $11,000 ovens sitting right there. I'm like, hope you didn't pack one of those accidentally and get that up to Des Moines. Ooh.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah,
man.
And everybody could we use this for a warmer? No, it was lowest it goes like $375 or something like that. So I'm like, no, stay out of that. And then I caught somebody over there fiddle fucking around with it, and I said, keep your goddamn hands off that thing. It doesn't belong to us, and we're not going to buy it. So leave it the fuck alone,
Randy had sent me a message when he was doing a tour, and he said, man, what's this? I'm like, holy shit, that's an $11,000 oven. I mean, because it's like the new high-tech bullshit that you can cook at different temperatures on each shelf in an oven.
I think three or four shells.
At different humidity levels. So you can, in essence, steam rice on one shelf and bake a pizza on the next shelf. And because each shelf has its own compartment. So it's like a mini little oven that's controlled by humidity and everything. And so each different shelf, and you can cook on them. The heat recycles them. So you can actually cook with the door open. So these small little pizza places, you got a pizza, you throw one up the top. Now a normal pizza place, every time you open the door to the oven, you're slowing down the other pizza. Well, this one, you're cooking the top pizza, you go to the next pizza, boom, boom, boom. And super efficient. Sucks a lot of power. I looked at him. Holy criminally, you'd have to have you'd have to have a Mid-American truck parked outside, I think.
Is that right? They're big power hogs?
Big power hogs. Big power hogs. Because I'm like, boy, this is kind of nice. I'm like, whoa, that's really nice. I'm short on power.
Yeah. So anyway, go through, get that. So that's going to be good. So that way you get halfway through it, you don't get in a big pissing match about something. Yep. Then the second thing is think about how much food you're going to sell. And I wish I had a formula or something. We ended up with a couple briskets left over. We ended up with a bunch of ribs left over. We ended up with no coleslaw left over. We had to substitute some stuff for coleslaw, and, but that's just the game you got to play. And, my biggest fear is when and that's why we kind of took the break last night. You start selling a bunch of food and you think you got to looking that we're going to run out of food. You got to shut it off, because the last thing you want to do is have to go back to people and tell them you're going to have to give them their money back and stuff like that. So, but take plenty of food, but have a use for what you don't use that you have left over.
Randy, could you have put your inventory levels into your toast and said, hey, I have this, and let's say you were serving an 8-ounce portion of brisket or whatever. Could you have said, hey, I got this many pounds of brisket divided by 8 ounces. That's, 100 portions. I'm going to put 80 on here into the system, so the system wouldn't allow you to sell any more than, we could do that in toast. You can, like our daily special. If we have 80 burgers to sell on Tuesday, every time we take burgers out of the smoker, we up the inventory so that we can't sell it if we don't have it. Now,
and we could.
Most people aren't going to have that set up, but
that would have been something that we could have done, and we'll probably do that the next time, especially if we're running on our own system like you were talking about. That's the other thing. If we run on our own system, I feel a little bit more comfortable fiddle fucking around with it instead of having somebody in somebody else's system. I just feel more comfortable doing it on our own, But I could see that doing with pork steaks and ribs, but we had more ribs left over than I'd like to. So, but still, You want to have enough food, that you're happy with what your sales are. So,
are they still? You think the quality's still good?
Yeah, because they were put out on sheet pans and cooled off. So,
I didn't know if you knew or not, but there's kind of a game coming up called the Super Bowl. That
really,
I bet you instead of going and giving them away to the neighbors, that you could say, hey, we had quite a few ribs left over. We've cooled them down. We're cryovacuuming them. These are good to put in the freezer and heat up for the Super Bowl, or there's a couple football games today.
Yeah, you could probably get rid of them today, honestly.
Hell, you could sell $15 racks of ribs, and guess what? You ain't out there.
They'll be gone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's true. I never thought about that.
Yeah, and so what's interesting about this whole pop-up thing, I always look, we've got a new kind of neighbor down the street from us, the egg roll lady. Okay. And so they run where we put a new corporate office in a couple doors down is this, and they've run a food truck for years, very successful food truck called the Egg Roll Ladies. And it's a gal, and she's actually a military gal. And her mom does all the cooking, but they don't have a hood in the system. They don't have a hood in this restaurant. They took over a little ice cream nutrition shop, whatever. Took it over. So they have their food truck parked outside, and they're actually, all the fryers and woks and stuff are out in the food truck. And then they're in the it's a trailer. And then they're running stuff in and serving it inside. And they're doing well, but of course, she needs more business. So now she's doing these drop-offs, whereas she's, going to all the towns, and she says, okay, we're going to Slater on Tuesday. We'll deliver to your house cooled down egg rolls, crab rangoons, ready to heat up in your air fryer or whatever. And you go in, you sign up. It's $5 for every delivery. and she has to have a minimum of like it's crazy low, $150 for the town for her to all the orders to be good. And people, for the town. And she's setting up, running around. And I've talked to friends they're like, yeah, they're just showing up at our house, dropping us a box. I'm like, there's just
like DoorDash, but better.
There's just a lot of ways to get food in people's hands.
Yeah.
That I think if we really took the time, I mean, we're lucky because we've got the systems. We could do that tomorrow. Right?
Right.
Go online, place your order here, whatever. I mean, if we could pack stuff up and just drop it, hell, I could drop chicken, I could drop mac and cheese and brisket, and I could drop it all. And comfort food, I could drop 4 different meals on your doorstep.
Exactly.
Just things that make you go,
That'd be kind of fun. You should try
that football thing might be something to think about. That little game you're going to have.
And just say, hey, I got a hell of a deal today. I'm going to be sitting in Jacksonville, or I'm going to be sitting in Springfield. I'm bringing the truck in. I'm only going to be there for an hour.
What time?
And I got 15 racks of ribs, or I got 30 racks of ribs. And
just bring the old hot shot truck. Bring the hot shot truck and be done with it.
Yeah. So you get some advertising and say, hey, I'm going to be sitting here. Hell, you could have been doing it while we're doing the podcast, and had Marla out there hawking ribs.
Yeah, come and get them. Come and get them. They're hot and ready. Kind of like me, hot and ready. So the other thing is,
I'm surprised you didn't get the eye roll on that, Randy, when you said, "Come get me, I'm hot and ready."
Really?
I was looking at the times of the games so I could help him out and tell him if you post right after this podcast, you could probably get rid of him.
Emma drank. I can tell Emma must have drank last night. She doesn't seem to be quite on her game.
Not as snappy as normal.
Okay,
she hasn't told us to.
I didn't drink last night, so that's just rude.
She hasn't said you can't do that. You can't say that. We haven't heard that once today. We can get away with anything.
If you've been watching my reactions, if you've been watching my reactions, I have reacted to everything. I'm just trying to be better about my OG's comments.
No. That's what people love. That's why we put you back on the show.
Might as well get over that.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, that's the only reason.
It's because you guys didn't miss me.
The other thing is
that's cool. I'm not taking that personally.
That list I put together of all the stuff we needed to take in there, kind of get your shit together, more or less, of your list of what you need to take into your pop-up, so you aren't having to run back and forth. I anticipated this to be a 2 or 3 trip event.
Operation.
That's how I base a lot of stuff. Yeah,
run back home and get something we forgot. Yeah.
Yeah. And once we went in there first with the truck and the van loaded with all of our stuff and unloaded all that and got everything set up, and then we came back in later on with all the food, and that was it. We never ran home and got anything, so that's kind of scary. So for us,
that's good. Yeah, I was
so
having
have a good list put together.
What else?
Well, and then look at one of the little things is a menu. I mean, we don't deal with menus. We use menus on our food truck and then on our online stuff. But then, people want to look at a menu. So it dawned on me the other day, it's like, holy fuck, we need a menu for people to look at, So we put one together, got it together and got it printed up and stuff. And,
did you just do like one big one, or did you print out a bunch of like handhelds?
No, one handheld colored ones, 8.5 by 11s. And so they could have a couple at each table and stuff.
Yeah.
And then another thing is, what are you going to do for barbecue sauce? One of the people, before I told them what we were going to do, I told them, they said, well, are you going to have a jug of sauce that they can come up and get to-go cups with and stuff? No, we put bottles of sauce on every table, and so as they needed more, we would bring more bottles of sauce out to them and stuff.
So you put your pint bottles of sauce on, or you put squeeze bottles?
Pint bottles. No, pint bottles.
Oh, really?
Put the pint bottles out on the tables and stuff.
Yeah, probably could have got away with it. Probably could have got away with some. My advice, instead of wasting the money because pints are expensive, could have poured gallons into squeezed containers and wrote mild and sass or whatever on the outside of it.
Yeah.
Because then left over.
Yeah, probably.
Just a little cheaper. I'm always thinking about the cost.
The other thing is our bread pudding. We hadn't talked about bread pudding. That was a big hit. Lots of people ordering bread pudding and stuff. So I wouldn't say every order that went out, but I would guesstimate. And there it goes back to your whole deal, Darren. You said if we had our own system in there, if we had our own system in there, I could sit down this afternoon and drill down as much as I wanted to, all that information I'm not going to be able to off of somebody else's system,
Yeah.
Well, and so the bread pudding, if they ordered bread pudding, they ordered it with their meal, you delivered it, I'm assuming, or did you come get it later?
Yes. No, we delivered it out with our meal, with a caramel sauce on it.
So if you could have got away with that, you had your own system, the waitress just could have kind of came around and said, oh, you want bread pudding? But then if she was handling the payment at that time versus a traditional restaurant toast to go, you would have just kind of kept their tab open, if you will.
Right.
Yeah.
But we sold a bunch of the bread pudding went over really good, and we actually I shouldn't say we. Marla, she made caramel syrup and made it from scratch and everything. So it was really good and had a lot of compliments on it.
That's good. So, sounds really good.
But I guess
I'll take some pork steaks, some coleslaw, some beans, and some bread pudding. Delivered.
Double that
overnight. Double
right
it
now.
Up. I would guess the overall consensus is, we'll do it again. I'm anxious to do it again, just for the fact that see if how much smoother it's going to run, and that it, after doing this first time, we had the stumbles and the bumbles along. It's like, well, do I really want to fucking do this again? Be
much easier the second time.
Yeah, the second time we do it. Yeah, and kind of get that lined out. And but the whole deal, Marla made the comment yesterday afternoon. She goes, not that I'm surprised, but she says, you've really got this shit together, don't you? And I said, well,
we're surprised.
I said, well, yeah, I hope so.
I'm not, because I've been kind of following you along the way.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I have too. I'm still surprised.
I said, she goes, yeah. I said, does it surprise you? And she goes, no. She said, I knew you'd been working on this and you'd been doing a lot of work on it and stuff. So, so it's not something I wouldn't want to try throwing it together overnight, but, if I was approached to do one for this coming weekend and we had time to do it this weekend, I could put it together in a week's time easy.
Yeah.
And I think each time it'll get more easy.
It'll get easier?
Do what, Emma?
I was just going to ask, do you think you'll change the menu, or do you think that, would you ever
I don't know.
Would you switch it up a little bit, or would you keep it the same?
I would maybe switch it up. I wouldn't mind we got pork in there with pork steak. I don't know whether to throw pulled pork in there would be a good idea or not, you know.
I told him half chickens. He said no.
Well, I mean, and that might be a good idea too. I mean, you can make some money on half chicken.
Would you take off the full racks? Do you think that's why you overshot the ribs so much? Was because you expected more people to order full racks?
We only did half racks.
Oh, you ended up taking off the full racks off? Okay.
Yeah, we only did half racks.
I missed that part. That makes more sense.
No, I just anticipated more racks being sold, and
yeah. Well, that's going to happen. Yeah. You wouldn't think you would have ran out of coleslaw. Everybody's always got tons of coleslaw left over.
Oh, but coleslaw is so good.
But as Marla and I were talking this morning, and it's really the only true vegetable we have on our menu.
That's I wouldn't call that a vegetable.
What do you mean? Coleslaw? It's made out of cabbage and carrots. Why wouldn't it be a vegetable?
That's nothing in it as compared to like a potato casserole.
But it's also drenched in mayonnaise.
Not ours. We have sweet vinegar. Sweet vinegar.
That doesn't mean it's not a vegetable still.
Oh, well, exactly. But like you think vegetable, you think healthy. Coleslaw's not healthy.
Ours is.
No, you. Yours is, because yours is vinegar with
sweet
sugar.
vinegar.
I'm sure it's got sugar substitute in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, with about 5. Is putting the mix together for it yesterday morning. It's like, holy fuck, we've been making too much stuff with sugar. So I thought I was going to have to run to town and get a bag of sugar, but we stole it from the house. So because making the sugar for the apple Christmas stuff, we've been going through it quite a bit. So I have to talk to our procurement department.
Yeah, you're looking at him.
Yeah, exactly.
Jeez.
Okay, well, that was exciting. I'm glad we got to kind of. I'm glad we got to. First, I'm glad it was a success. I'm glad you had a ton of people. I'm glad you went live, so I got to experience part of it. Because that if I wouldn't have had a 4-year-old birthday party, I would have been right there in the mix of things.
I know you would have.
And I probably should stay away from the next one because I'll be there trying to make you really efficient, and you don't need me to make you efficient.
He's going to mess with your system.
You just need to
No. I want him to mess.
No.
I want him to mess with our system.
No.
So
Randy, don't do that to yourself.
I think in 20 years, maybe in 10 years, Randy and I, we're going to have a POS system, and we're going to have warmers. We're going to have everything in a box truck. I even got the box truck, Randy. We're going to put everything needed for a pop-up in a box truck, right? And we're going to go set up the pop-up, and we're going to hire the hot chicks as waitresses, and we're going to let local guys come in, or local people that want to sell their food in a pop-up format. We're going to say, you guys make the food, and we're going to make sure we help you get it out and paid for, and and we'll take 10% off the top, and we'll be millionaires. We'll be laying on the beach in Florida before you know it.
You're already doing that.
I'll start tomorrow. That isn't a bad idea. I wonder if anybody would be interested in having us come in with a box truck with all the equipment you need and stuff. If they could, you know what would be even nicer in a way is if you just had an empty room.
Well, so Randy,
not even a real kitchen.
So yesterday I'm at breakfast, right? And a gal comes up to me. She's the server there. And she goes, hey, I was talking to somebody about my boss here about a ghost kitchen. She goes, I really want to do a ghost kitchen. And her boss says, well, what are you looking at me for? Go talk to Darren. He's got one. Right. So we come over and we had a nice little half-hour conversation. And it's made me think, and they're doing this stuff around, but she knows how to make great food, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Doesn't know shit about the rest of it. Right.
Exactly.
So I'm like, well, I've got a ghost kitchen. Now we're open 7 days a week now, but it's like, could we fit one other concept, create an empty room for her? And then we just throw them out on the DoorDash for the day and take a certain cut of what, come in. You can use the kitchen to help prepare your food. But the problem is if you need a fryer or a flat top, then I'm operating right now.
Yeah, exactly.
That would actually be
that wouldn't
true.
Be a bad
you're not
idea.
really a true ghost. You're not really a true ghost kitchen anymore, though. So that would be like an actual ghost kitchen.
Well, same thing. No, it could be whatever. You know, the other thing, speaking of that, and before we go, because I know we're getting over an hour here. Has anybody heard of this hyper bullshit? Right?
The drinks?
What?
Hyper energy?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No.
So, Randy,
what about them?
So these are popping up all over the place, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's an energy drink restaurant, right?
Okay.
And they're selling different flavored energy drinks that they've amped up. Mm-hmm. And one of the gals goes, well, yeah, that's just Rockstar, and they're putting soda in it and syrup and whatever. And I'm like, what in the fuck? And they're like, oh yeah, it's all the craze. I mean, they're popping up these locations because the afternoon caffeine market is so huge. Not necessarily the morning market, but the afternoon of people that need caffeine to get through the afternoon, and they're buying these big old drinks. And I'm like, well, hell, I'm going to do that on DoorDash. And they're like, do it. And they're like, but what are you going to spill? And I'm like, no, I'm going to find a custom plastic bottle with a screw-on lid that you could throw across the room, right? That you can keep very cheap, that I can serve this drink in. Would you like ice or no ice? So do you want it watered down when it gets to you, or do you want to just add your own ice? And we're only going to sell them from 2 to 5 in the afternoon.
There you go.
On DoorDash. What do you think?
Well, there's a place down here called Seven Brews. It's a chain of coffee, drive-through coffee.
Somebody mentioned that.
And
we have one here too.
They do all that kind of stuff there.
Well, all coffee shops are starting to do like an energy drink spinoff. Because like even your neighbors, Cafe DM has like an energy drink. Like the Lotus Energy is really big right now. I don't really know what makes it any different, but.
So are they just dumping Monster out of a can and putting some flavor in it?
I'm not 100% sure what they're doing, but it's probably close to that. Like Red Bulls. Red Bulls are huge.
Yeah.
Scooters does a Red Bull. Actually does like a partnered Red Bull energy drink. Where they just do Red Bull and
now down here.
Flavoring.
Well, my buddy Worley was doing this a couple years ago. I think he still does it in his little ice cream shop. He was doing a drink that had the lemonade Rockstar. It had to be the lemonade Rockstar, and then adding different flavoring to that lemonade and selling it to all the damn high school kids.
I think, because
it was.
Well, yeah,
that's the target. That's the target market. They want to get off high school and then they want to get all hyped up.
Get all hyped up on crack and shit.
Because like those hyper energies, and then it's like the spin-offs on like healthy like energy drinks.
So you look
there's like protein shops that do stuff that,
healthy.
Yeah, perceived healthy.
It's just like
exactly
not one bit
it's
healthy.
It's just like new,
throwing a shit pot full of caffeine and a bunch of sugar.
And I haven't had them. They could be like actually because there are ways to make like healthy.
I'm going to Seven Brews. Is there a Seven Brews in Ankeny?
Yes, I believe there is.
I'm leaving.
It's by
I'm leaving here.
Oh what road is that? It's by the Krispy
old Grin and Goat.
Yeah, I think so. In that area, by like that come and go, right?
I'm going to Brent. I don't even like energy drinks. When I leave here, I'm going to get me an energy drink.
Okay.
Hey, speaking of energy drinks, on a kind of other subject, have you guys seen that new goddamn thing of people throwing Slurpee drinks on cars?
Yeah.
No, but I haven't been on TikTok much lately.
You know what trend I wish we would have done? I worked at Smokey D's when this was a trend. Though when people would take they'd make like ice cream cones or whatever, and then the customer would be like, "Oh, I didn't want this on top of it," or "I didn't order that," and so the employee will take a handful of it and throw it up against somebody else, like hit them in the face or something. I have to send you guys.
Oh, that's.
I wanted to do that trend with Darren, but it was like kind of when I was starting to leave, so I didn't. It would have been perfect because I could have chucked a cup of ice cream at him easy peasy. It would have been a delight, actually.
You're chucking ice cream at a guy that's lactose intolerant?
No, this is a guy. These goddamn kids are going in to like 7-Elevens and Circle K's and getting those big Slurpee drinks, and then going out and throwing them on their pickups and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
On their own pickup.
On their own pickups or other people's pickups.
The one I saw was 3 kids went and they got Slurpees and they threw them at their dad's truck, and like as he was pumping gas, and they threw it at his truck, and they all laughed and tried to get in, and he locked the doors and just left them. He made them walk home.
Randy,
good enough for the little bastard.
Yeah.
You're in your truck. You need to drive to town right now.
Yeah, let's go on a road trip
and shoot a little video of getting a Slurpee, and then walking out the parking lot and throw the sumbitch at your truck. Because guess what? It ain't gonna hurt how dirty your truck is. I know.
No, it's filthy because I haven't washed it for about a week out here on these country roads.
Right. So I want you to go shoot that video of pulling a Slurpee and then go out in the damn parking lot and throw it against it and shoot a video, throw it in the parking lot and going, well, I guess we'll get this clean now.
Then all I got to do is just go down to the car wash and run it through the car wash.
Run a car wash and get it done. Yeah, good idea. I think you can get this done. Report back.
All right. Report back. All right.
Anything else?
No more for the good for the order.
I don't know if anybody pays attention to what episode it is, but it's episode 41. I didn't get to say that because Randy just went straight out the gate. But this is episode 41
He
for
always
anyone who
does.
cares.
Like a
Always
racehorse.
Just
Don't
like
worry,
a racehorse. When they go to download the podcast, right at the top it says episode 41.
It actually doesn't. Not when you download it on podcast platforms. But it's just fun to keep track.
Oh, okay.
Anyway,
yeah, nobody cares as long as it's good and as long as it's not over an hour and 10 minutes long.
Oh, it will be because I gotta sign off. Oh my God, Randy's actually just.
See, I'm actually moving. I'm taking everybody for a little ride down the road. So.
It's all right. Okay. Well.
Okay, we're out of here.
All right.
Yeah, follow us on social media at Q the
Done.
Mic Pod.
Over with.
Or find us on YouTube at Q the Mic Podcast. Anyway, we're done.
Boom.
Everybody, we'll see you next week.
Boom. Boom. Done. Over with.
We're out of here.
All right.
Oh God.